Well, this year will mark the 18th season that we've heated our home with our outdoor wood boiler right here. And interestingly, it's the latest that I've ever started a fire in it too. But I got two problems I need to solve before I can get a fire going. Number one is I need to figure out how to haul wood over here efficiently from our new wood yard that's across the road. I don't want to haul it over here, dump it, and then restack it. So I'm looking for a solution there. But before I can even worry about that, I got to take care of this. This rod right here that's connected to the bypass for the chimney has somehow become disconnected. So I need to figure that out before I start a fire, because I'll probably have to get inside the firebox. But all right, that's what we got to deal with. I'm going to go grab a flashlight and some tools. I'll meet you back here at the stove.
Dig dry DIY.
All right. Well, this rod right here controls a little door in the top of the stove, and when it's closed, it creates a bypass where the smoke has to go around the top plenum in the stove, and you get a little more value out of the heat in the smoke. But if you want to open the door, you want the smoke to go directly out the chimney, so with this opened up, it's a direct straight shot out of the chimney. It went out about 3/4 of the way through the season last year, and I never took the time to put the stove out to climb in here and fix it. But now I got to try to get up in there and see if I can get that door opened up so I can grab a hold of it. Oh boy. It's going to be interesting. This rod has a hole in the top. Okay. Bypass is way back here. Right there. Be able to see out the top. Oh, I'm gonna get that back far enough. I get some fresh air. See this rod? The hole in it. I gotta get that plate out of there. Way down in there. This rod goes way down in there somewhere and attaches to that bypass plate. I got it. There it is. I'm gonna get a mask. It's a stainless steel bolt. I don't know that it matters. All right, I'm gonna let the dust settle on that a little bit before it gets completely dark. I want to move a few things with the skid loader to work on this wood stacking situation. Then we'll build a fire yet tonight after I get that done. Well, this part isn't too riveting, but it's just building a fire. But there is one kind of ceremonial portion of it that I do every year that I'll show you when I'm done. But we'll just get her going here and see what it looks like, see how long it takes to warm up. So there doesn't appear to be any shortage of Amazon boxes around our place, but I just do it the old-fashioned way. Wad up newspapers, and then I put them inside of a cardboard box. Set her down in there. All right, I'm gonna light the paper in there. Now we're gonna add a little air. So the stove has power to it on a switch, and I need to turn the switch on in order to light up the stove, turn on the circulation pumps, and enable the controller here. So I'll go flip the switch. When I do, that light will come on. All right, so the stove now has power. I can turn it on and it should enable the fans on the back and the aquastat. Once the aquastat becomes active, it'll kick the fans on. There's the fans. Now it's blowing air on the fire. And since I have this bypass open, the smoke should be, a heavy concentration of the smoke should be going up the chimney rather than coming out the door. All right, currently, temperature of the water is 61 degrees. She's good to go. Here's that ceremonial component I was talking about. Okay. You know, I should probably say that earlier off camera, I had already turned the stove on and checked the circulation pumps, made sure there was no water leaks in our basement or in my shop where we have radiators that circulate water. I did all that just so I knew I could turn it on now on camera and be ready to go. So now we just got to see if it warms up and make sure everything's functioning as it should, and we can shut off the propane. Yeah, we have propane heat for backup. I usually run it a little bit in the fall when it first starts to get cold, and then again in the spring when it starts to warm up. So that's really nice. But now we'll switch to all firewood. All right, so my goal of this idea right here is to improve efficiency in my whole wood handling operation. For those that have been following along for many years, you know that I have a very good place to stack and store firewood very close to our outdoor wood boiler. The problem is that anytime I split and cut off-site, I usually put it in the dump truck, and that means I have to bring it here, try to dump it in front of the stove, and then pick it up and handle it again to stack it. And that just creates an inefficiency where we're handling the wood multiple times. My ultimate goal is to be able to cut and split in the new wood yard and then stack it onto some kind of rack that I can pick up and carry with my skid loader, bring it over into the lean-to that we call it, where we stack the firewood, and then just set it down and don't touch it again until it goes into the stove. Now, I know what the first thing is that most of you are gonna say. Why don't you use firewood totes like everyone else does on YouTube? I thought about that. Don't get me wrong, and I have a few totes, but with the width of our lean-to and the width of the skid loader, it's gonna make it very difficult. Plus they're difficult to stack on top of each other, and I think that totes in my area are gonna be very cumbersome and difficult to place, especially when the tote isn't even as wide as the skid loader. So basically I can't get up against the edges. I wanna build a rack that's almost as wide as the lean-to, and I want it to hold enough to where it'll last a fair amount of time. I could burn through a tote in no time. So I'd be switching out and handling totes all the time. I want a rack that holds at least a quart of firewood. So for the last couple of years, I've been on the hunt for a rack that would be wider and that I could put 2 or 3 rows of firewood in and then just pick it up and carry it. And I've been all over Facebook Marketplace looking for old industrial racking of some sort. And anything I find is real close, but it's not perfect. And I'd more than likely have to modify it anyway. So since I had this old pallet racking out back that's been laying there probably 15 years or so now, I don't think I'm going to use it for pallet racking. It's an inconvenient style. It doesn't just clip together. I might as well use it for something. So my challenge now is trying to decide how big to make it. Should I make it so that it holds 2 rows of firewood or 3? My pieces are typically about 18 inches wide or so, 17 to 18 inches. So that would be 36 inches wide, just 2 rows. 3 of them would be nearly 54 inches, and I think that's going to be a huge amount of wood. Forgot to turn the airline on. Get the slag off. All right, well, so far, everything that I've been able to build has been from that scrap pallet racking. And that pallet racking was some really heavy stuff. That's partially why I probably wouldn't have used it anyway. But I decided that I was gonna make it for 2 rows of firewood because my average length of my firewood is 17 to 18 inches. So that makes it an overall width of 36 inches. If I had tried to make it for 3 rows of firewood, it would have had an overall width of 54. And with a 42-inch set of forks, that means I wouldn't have been picking up all of the bottom cross members at once with the forks. I felt like that was just too big of a load. So I settled on 2 rows of firewood. The uprights I set at 18 inches on center so that they would be right in the center of the wood that I stacked. So that'll be supporting it side to side. And then to finish it off, I used another bottom runner to tie the 2 top pieces together. So right or wrong, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. It's built way overkill for just firewood, I'll tell you that. And I wouldn't be able to do it if I didn't have a skid loader. I still got to put a couple gussets in there, but that's yet to come. Well, all the fab work is done. I think that looks pretty good. I'm hoping it's gonna work, but I need something for the bottom. So we're gonna make a run to Tractor Supply, see if they got what we need, and then hopefully we can wrap up this rack. Oh, we're here already. How'd you girls get here? Let's go get some parts. Don't you love going to Tractor Supply? Yeah. It's like one of my favorite places.
Yes, sir.
If I want to get a hog panel out there, can I just buy it here and go pick it up, or what's
the? Here, and he'll have to load it out for you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Oh, right there. Oh, I see. Should I back up here, or just is that? All right. That looks secure on there. Not going anywhere, as they say. Okay, you ready to eat? Yeah. Okay, let's go get a bite, and we'll meet you back home. Well, those two gussets right there certainly tightened it up. All right, we made use of about all that metal. That is a tight squeeze. What am I hitting on? This thing doesn't go down low enough. The forks don't go down low enough to get under it. Seems taller than what I originally thought. I made it tall enough that I could just stack it by standing on the ground. I can reach about 7 feet, so I made it about 7.5 feet tall, and that's low enough that it'll also fit inside the lean-to pretty comfortably. I have two major concerns. The first of which obviously being how tippy it is. I felt like when it was loaded up with wood, it would probably be more stable, having all the weight sitting on the 3 cross members that are on the bottom, but that's just my theory. It could be too tall now that I'm looking at it, and it could get pretty tippy. I don't know, you tell me what you think. Is it gonna be way too tippy and sketchy? The second thing is I gotta be able to see through it, obviously, as I'm carrying it. And I think I have a couple ideas for solutions for that. I knew that was gonna be the case when I started it, but I do have an idea for that. So I'm anxious to see how this is gonna work. If it's way too stressful to be moving it, then I might bag it. That's why I only built one for now. It's gonna be a test run. We're gonna see how things go. And you tell me your thoughts. Do you have a different idea? Are there some prefabbed racks that I'm not aware of that I could have chosen instead? All said and done right now, I've got about 30 bucks invested in this, in the hog panel so far, and $50 in Steak and Shake on our trip to Tractor Supply. Well, I basically spent all of Saturday building this rack, and it took longer than I expected, but that's pretty much par for the course. The only thing I have left to do is drag the East Bagged axis over here, get set up so that I can buck some rounds, start splitting, stack it on the rack, and then see if I can carry it across the road without dropping it all. But unfortunately, I'm out of time this week. I'm right up against my deadline for Sunday release, and so you're gonna have to come back next time to see how this goes. Hey, I know, I usually like to wrap these up by showing the conclusion, but we did get the rack built, and I have to wait too, so Hopefully, if I'm lucky, you'll come back to check it out. And I want to thank you so much for clicking on this video. And if I'm lucky, you will be there next time to check it out. Thanks so much for watching. Oh! Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Jeez, don't drop it already, you ding-dong. Maybe it's too top-heavy without any wood on it. I gotta get it closer to the door.